Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today, as you can tell by the title, I'm just going to be updating you guys on my journey to becoming a chartered accountant in South Africa. So the last video I uploaded was talking about how I had passed my CTA and how God had helped me to pass CTA. So after that, I registered to write ITC in January 2020, and yeah, the girl passed. Okay, so I'm very grateful right now to God, and I'm very thankful, and I just want to give him the glory. That's the first thing I want to do, because obviously I wouldn't have been where I am without his help. So now I'm just gonna go through my journey from when I realized that I passed CTA to when I realized that I passed ITC. So once I realized that I passed my CTA, it was time for me to register for ITC. So I decided to register for ITC in January. You have the option to register for ITC in June, but I just wanted to get everything over and done with. So that meant that I had to study from November going forth, you know. So it kind of meant that I didn't necessarily have a holiday. When we were still doing CTA, we were really advised that we shouldn't take December off as a holiday. If you're gonna take a holiday, at least take a week off. So once you're a candidate of ITC, you can choose. I think you have a choice. You do have a choice on whether you want to attend the Heyyy board course or you don't, which is like a course that prepares you for ITC. You get material there, you get a lot of question papers, past exam papers, and you also get lectured by whichever university you decide to attend. My plan was that I was going to start studying after the Heyyy board course. So after the Heyyy board courses, I started studying. You know, I wasn't really moving at the fastest pace as I would have wanted, but I was studying. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually Zimbabwean, so my passport was expiring. I had applied for my passport in June, but by December it still was not out yet. So I then realized that you could actually go to the passport offices and do a top up and everything like that. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go do this thing in person, and hopefully it speeds up the process. So we went to Zimbabwe. I saw my family. I obviously couldn't carry my books to study, and then when it was time for me to go fix my passport issue, there was a further delay. So now I was stuck in Zimbabwe. I hadn't carried my study material, so I couldn't study. I was stuck there and I was just waiting for the passport to come out. So when I used to log on to Instagram, people would be posting their progress or just posting how they spent the entire day studying, and I was just there like, what do I do? I was kind of panicking, but at that point I feel like after what God had shown me throughout the year, I was kind of like calm. I knew that, you know what, I'm in this situation because I can't really control anything about it. I don't have control over this situation. So if I don't have control over something, I'm just gonna leave it to God. I mean, I couldn't control how fast my passport was going to come out, so I was just like, you know what, I'm not gonna stress myself. I know I'm not covering as much work as I would have wanted, but it's okay. I'm just going to trust in God at this point. And so I remember my passport then came out. It was like after Christmas, so I had to spend Christmas in Zimbabwe because I couldn't go nowhere with an expiring passport. So I got my passport, I came back to South Africa, and then now I was trying to catch up, right? So basically, when you attend the Heyyy board course, you get a lot of material. You get like 4 files that are filled with like all the 4 modules, and I was just stuck there like, where do I even begin? How do I even start studying? Where do I start? I was there looking at all these files and all the information in the files, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to finish it by the end of June. The ITC exams were fast approaching. I mean, January literally flew past. I feel like a lot of people would resonate with what I'm saying. Like a lot of people who've wrote ITC, it's like the amount of work you would have put throughout CTA, when you realize that you've passed, it's like you just want to rest. It's like you can't really get yourself up to fight again. That's kind of like the state a lot of people were in, and our lecturers already warned us about it, to, you know, bear in mind that we still needed to pull our weight, we still needed to work. So I was just like, I was trying my best to concentrate, I was trying my best to study as hard as I could, but it was just that thing that I had been fighting so much the whole of 2019. I was just tired, but anyway, I just kept pushing, because that's what you need to do. You just need to keep pushing, keep putting in work, keep doing what you can. And when your body is like fatigued, when your body is too tired, take a break, rest, watch something that makes you feel calm or relaxed, and get back to it. As you guys know, with CTA you can only do so much. It's like you can work as hard as you want, but you might not necessarily cover all the work. You might not cover all the work you want to cover, or the entire syllabus. You might not cover it. So that's why I really rely on God, and I really rely on the guidance He gives me. Because then let me give you guys an example, right? Let's say there are a lot of topics in accounting, there are a lot of topics in taxation, finance, and auditing, right? You may, let's say this is just my thing, right? Let's say I don't ask God for guidance, right? I don't ask God for guidance, and I go study 70% of the work. I go study 70% of the work, and then I get into the exam and I find that it's the 30% I didn't study that's there. So when you ask God to guide you, what I'm trying to say is, when you ask God to guide you, you're gonna go straight and study that 30% that is gonna come in the exam. That's kind of like how I see it, you know, because it's just a lot of workload. There's no going about it. It's just a lot of workload, and there's just gonna be some topics that you won't be able to cover by the time the exam arrives, right? So guys, ask God to guide you in your studies as you'll be studying, because He knows already. He knows what's in the exam. He's going to help you to study what's in the exam. And be specific when you're asking for guidance from God. Tell Him, God, please help me to study what's coming, because you know I want to pass, and help me to also apply my mind when I'm in the exam, because a topic could come in the exam that you know about, but you might not apply your mind in the way that you're supposed to. That's going to help you to get the marks. So guys, please pray. Go into detail. Ask God, God, I need you to be with me as helping the exam. I need you to help me to study what's coming in the exam, and I also need you to help me write the exam. I need you to write for me in the exam room. So that was always my prayer, because I was like, you know what, I can't study all these things in 1 month and finish them. I need divine intervention. I need God. Looking at the way He had just shown me His power when I wrote CTA, I was still relying on Him. I was like, you know what, my victory is in Jesus. That's just my mentality. That's just how I think. That's just how I operate. So when you write ITC, guys, you write for 2 days and you write 2 sessions per day. ITC is really about applying your mind, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're gonna have to be comfortable with thinking outside the box, because you must not expect to see the same question you've seen before in ITC. That's not gonna happen. So you must be prepared for anything. So yeah, there's this one thing I want to tell you guys. I want to give glory to God, because I remember this other, like I said, you write 2 sessions per day, right? So you write in the morning and you get a break, and then you go back and you write in the afternoon. So during our break, I was sitting with my friends. I know my friend Simpiwe can actually testify to this. We're all sitting down, and like I was kind of panicky, because you know I just didn't know what to expect in the last exam, right? So we were sitting there and we were just talking, and I was just like, guys, I'm gonna pray. Is it okay if I pray? And then they were like, okay, yeah, girl, you can pray. And I prayed, right? I prayed for us. I just prayed for God to intervene, and I prayed for God to help. And then after that, I just started asking them auditing questions. I started asking them questions and how to answer the questions, because I just wanted to refresh my mind. You know, like when you study something at the beginning of your studies, or even if you last studied it last year, it's still there in the back of your mind, but you need to be reminded so that it's like this, it comes like this if you see a question like that. So that was the case with these topics that I was now asking. Out of the blue, I just started asking these girls, oh, how do you answer this topic? How do you answer this topic? How do I, like, I think I asked 3 topics and they told me how to answer it, and I was like till we got to the entrance of the exams, like when we were coming back from lunch, I was busy asking them like, oh, okay, and then what do you do, and then what, and then I was just refreshing my mind, right? Guess what, those questions were in the exam, and now it's like, instead of like taking 2 minutes to think about, you know, what I learned or how to answer them, it was now here, because I had just asked them, and those girls had just helped me. And I feel like I started asking those direct questions, specific questions that were in the exam, because I had prayed about it. So you guys, you see, When you pray for God's guidance, when you pray for God to intervene, He literally makes it easier for you. He literally like helps you to just get straight to the answer. I remember when the results came out, it was on the 27th of March, the first day of lockdown. So I was busy doing some work, and the work was pretty urgent, so I was literally on my laptop, and I was trying to look at my phone because I was expecting, I was just like, I need this message to come in. 4 o'clock. Did that message come in? No, sis, it did not. Then I was panicking, and I remember my supervisor was calling me and trying to get the work, and then I was just, you know, jittery. I couldn't concentrate on my work because I was like, did I just fail? I was thinking to myself, like, did I just fail? And then all of a sudden, a whole 4:15, the message finally came in. I screamed. I was like, Mom! My mom came, and we were just celebrating, and I was just giving glory to God, because even after what I went through in December and being delayed in Zimbabwe without any books and not being able to study as much as other people were studying, that's the other thing. You must not compare yourself to other people. You mustn't compare, because I know like you guys are probably in groups, you know, because we also had a group, you know, where all CTA students come together. A lot of things happen in the group. People can be talking about topics that are far ahead of what you are doing. Maybe you might be very like behind, you know. I remember I used to be behind when these other guys will be talking about topics that I have not even studied yet. That has shown me that you don't need to compare yourself. You just need to stick to your lane and move at your own pace, because at the end of the day, you don't know. Maybe those people are ahead and they don't even understand the work that they're doing, or maybe they actually do understand the work that they are doing, but it doesn't mean that you are going to fail just because you are behind. You need to pull your weight. You need to move at the pace that you can, okay? And most importantly, you need to ask God for guidance, because you know what, girl? He can help you, okay? He can really make your journey a bit easier, you know. Like, I know CTA obviously is gonna be hard, but God can help you. He literally can help you in ways you cannot even imagine. So I'll just keep stressing it. Please pray, ask for God to guide you on how to study, what to study, when to study, and how to answer the questions. And He will come through for you. And even after writing, still pray for your paper. Pray for favor over your paper, and pray for the people who are going to be marking your paper, that nobody takes away marks that you're supposed to get, okay? You are not alone. He is with you. And I know probably a lot of CTA students right now are worried because of how things are and them not being able to attend a lot of classes, but don't worry. Don't worry about things you can't control, situations you can't control. Put them all in God's hands. That's all I'm gonna tell you guys. Just leave it all in God's hands. Try your best to be like, if you can study now, if you can study without like being lectured, if you can study ahead, do that. Don't stress yourself. Leave it all in God's hands. Now we're gonna talk about how the questions were structured. I'm gonna read out the questions to you guys, like some of the questions that were in the paper. It's questions like draft the memo, critically discuss, comment on the method used, critically evaluate, describe the business risks. So on the questions that I've just read, all the questions that were here, they amounted to 63 marks, and there was no calculation in sight. So what am I saying, guys? Auditing is literally, auditing was almost, if I can just put it roughly, 60% of the whole ITC paper. Auditing, don't sleep on auditing, guys. Auditing is quite important. Make sure you understand, like, because the other thing I figured out about auditing, it's in the words as well. Don't just use regular words. You need to understand the auditing phrases that they use. I'm gonna use this example. So let's say there's a company, right? And this company owns a safari, right? And people go there and they see animals and stuff. So the question was, how does the company prevent How can the company protect themselves from being charged damages just in case a person gets attacked by an animal or something? So I remember answering it like this, because you know, like when you're under pressure, sometimes you don't really think. You're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna write what I'm thinking. So I remember writing something like, they can put a terms and conditions that they're not going to be liable for any damages on these visitors from the animals and stuff like that. And I remember thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, this answer is correct, I'm gonna write it like this. And then I got my test back, right? Then I got marked wrong. That answer was actually marked wrong. Why was it marked wrong? It's because I was supposed to use the word indemnity form, signed indemnity form. So you see, like, it's like those little things. You can write, you can phrase your sentence in a certain way, but they have specific auditing language that they want, and you can only get to know that specific auditing language if you keep doing questions and you keep studying how they actually answer and pick up words of how they, you know, pick up words from their answers, and you know, practice using them and use them over and over again until you understand. Because I understand sometimes, you know, your vocabulary might not be that huge, you know, or you might just had forgotten that there's something called an indemnity form on that day. That's why you are supposed to continuously do questions and actually look at the answers and how they answer their questions. And you know, like things like not putting the specific person. Let's say you're saying obtain a document from someone, right? You're supposed to write who you are obtaining the document from. So let's say it's a document from the accounting records. You say obtain the account, the data's ledger, the, you know, whatever document it is. You must write the name of the account. From who? From the accounting clerk. You know, you must be specific. You mustn't just say obtain the fixed asset register. From who? Those are the things that could make you lose marks. Those little mistakes would make you lose marks. So you guys really, when you're doing auditing, study how they answer their questions, because it looks like ITC was so full of auditing, guys. And also finance, guys. In finance, you know how you expect to see those 60 marks calculation questions? There was none of that, honey. It was all discussion questions, you know, using the information in the scenario. That's, if you don't like that, if you don't like the theory part of finance, you need to like it. You need to force yourself to understand how to answer those type of questions. And like, I learned the hard way in varsity, you know, because I was just writing my common knowledge. You know, if they ask me why is this company supposed to merge, I would, you know, try to think of things that I've heard before, or you know, things that make sense in my head. Even if they are correct, they're gonna mark you wrong. You must use information in the scenario. So they would have told you, let's say if they ask you why is it good for these companies to merge, they would have told you that there's gonna be a synergy somewhere in the scenario. So you need to take that answer and put it on paper. The way you can even take it word by word to show that it's from the scenario. So you guys don't just in finance. That's the reason why you might lose marks when you're doing those discussion questions. You remember, use the information as per the scenario. Even like if they give you like a financial statements, try and study those financial statements, you know, try and see what could influence this decision from the movement in the financial statement. And you know, for your finance calculation questions, you guys just need to know how to answer those, because you never know, you guys. Maybe they brought a lot of discussion questions in these ones. The next time they're gonna bring a lot of calculations. They are very unpredictable. You must not try to spot for ITC, because they are very, very unpredictable, guys. So what I'm gonna advise you is just do your best. Try to cover everything. Try to have a balance between your calculations and your theory, because they could bring theory and you have to apply your mind when you're just used to calculating. They could give you a valuation question and they will tell you to discuss. They could, like, how you might be expecting to get like free cash flow question, right? And then they'll give it to you in the scenario and they'll ask you to discuss it, and then you now have to discuss what happened, criticize everything. So you guys need to be able to just balance your calculations and your theory. Accounting, you guys need to know your standards. You need to know your standards, and don't be like, when you get something that you've never seen before, don't be afraid to open the standard. Spend time in your standards, understand your standard, and highlight and flag, because a lot of things that they will ask you, especially if it's discussion questions, you might find that you even find it exactly as is in the standards. I went through that, but I hadn't even highlighted it. I just saw something and I was like, you know what, let me go look for it. You just have to know the structure of every if, right? So that even if they ask you something and you're not sure if it's there or not, or you haven't highlighted it, you can still just have you have an idea of where to start looking, because you can't afford to leave any blank spaces in ITC. Even if you haven't not seen the question or whatever they're asking before, start by looking in the standard. Don't panic, don't freeze and think, oh no, I can't answer. No, don't leave a blank space. Our lecturers always told us to fight for every mark. You must not leave a blank space, because you never know how many marks you can get from whatever you put down. So you just have to know how to apply whatever is in the standard. So if you get a question, you know where it is, you know how to apply it. That's what matters. So guys, I wish you guys all the best. Those who are doing CTA, those who are writing ITC in June, I just wish you guys all the best, and I'll see you guys in my next video.